Welcome to episode 237 of Fresh Air at 5. I think I'm going to call this one the Leadership Hangover. Partly because, well, I had a whole full weekend this previous weekend of my PETA conference, and it was really good, but it takes a lot out of you. And then I had some choir leadership stuff to do this week, and a department meeting this week, and just the intensity of leadership and how it takes a lot out of us. So I started walking. Actually, I started listening on Wednesday. I didn't even walk. And I got a couple days of walking in this week, doing some learning before the rain comes this weekend. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And I hope that you are doing well in your space with your teaching and learning and leading. Okay, bye.
This is Robin Wilson, host of The Education Connection, a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Each show on the network is independently owned, and the views expressed may not represent those of other podcasts. For the best education podcast, visit edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwe First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week. Hey, PLN, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. It's already Wednesday this week, and that is a function of the full and rich weekend we had at the My PETA conference and all the things that came out after that and being completely exhausted. I came into work yesterday and I said, you know what? I'm tired of leadership. But then I thought about it and I thought, no, that's not true. I'm not tired of leadership. I'm tired. Leadership makes me tired at times. And this is one of those times that I am tired. We had a fantastic conference, but that takes effort and takes leadership and working with the team. Our team was fantastic. We got a whole lot of things done, had a great conference. There are some bumps, obviously, but that's what you do when you're learning and you're an educator and you're doing Pro D for people, you're learning. All right. Today, as I am starting to listen to podcasts this week, because I have had to get some rest, I listened to the Easy Ed Tech podcast with Monica Burns, episode 343, as she talks to us about how to make YouTube playlists for your students and families. And this is a handy little tool and trick that can be useful for curating YouTube content specifically and putting YouTube content in one place so that students and families at home can get to that content. I have done this myself with our Salmon in the Classroom project at school because our students aren't necessarily at school every day to see the progress of the salmon tank. So I make a weekly video, give them updates of what's happening, watch the fish hatch from the eggs, and then swim up and give them an update. We even watch those videos in class, but I have put them all into a YouTube playlist that I share with my students and families by creating a short link using a bit.ly or some other short URL shortener, and then subsequently a QR code so that families can just scan the QR code off of a postcard and get to it that way. So I think in addition, Monica, a great way to share a playlist is to provide a playlist. You can have a link in an LMS or an email to families, but I like the idea of shortening that URL, making a QR code so it is even easier to access. There's less typing involved to get to that playlist. And they can see those videos. All right, Monica talks about why we would do so, how we would do so, and how we would share the playlist. So take a listen for yourself. If you're not making YouTube playlists, we can make them for specific projects, kind of like the Salmon in the Classroom project. We could make them for research videos that students need to look at for a research project, or even instructional videos that you're making for students that are away. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Okay, bye. Hey PLN, it is October 30, 2025. It's in the evening around 5 o'clock p.m. and the days are getting shorter and going to change soon. As we have our time change, days are going to get a lot shorter as we fall back. All right, as I'm out walking, I listened to Steph and Joe on the Go episode entitled Mailbag Questions About AI. And Stephanie and Joe, I appreciate your thoughts as you address some of the questions about ethics, about grit, about student engagement, about using these things to enhance learning, as opposed to the seemingly it detracts from learning all the time, and because it doesn't. We can use these tools ourselves. You even talked about ethics of teachers using AI, and Joe, you said in your district or something like that, there's a policy that says that if you as a teacher use something and hand it out, it's on you. You can't say, well, AI made me do it. And did it, and I didn't own it, So it's about ownership, right? It's about, we didn't write it, but we have to acknowledge that we are the ones that own the responsibility for using it. And talking to students about that is so important. Talking about learning and why do we do what we do, and the bigger picture of the learning, so that we can be relevant in our world and make a difference in our world. This is a tie over to last week's Fresh Air at 5 podcast, as I talked about education as being important, period. And it's so important. We can have our rules and all these things in place. We can cheat, we can get by. But if we're not learning, then what are we doing? What's the point of all of it? So yes, take a listen to Steph and Joe on the Go so they can inspire you to think more about artificial intelligence. Appreciate you guys. And I am, there's that scales thing about when is acceptable use, Stephanie from Laguna Beach School District, and I was wondering if you could share that with me if you have that. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey PL, and it's October 31, 2025, Halloween day, and we are into dress-up days at school, and candy, and all those things. And I think about you teachers that are teaching your students today. I did yesterday, and we had cupcakes at the end of class that I brought, but it was pretty low-key in my teaching space. We had some fun dress-up. I dressed up like a middle schooler with a shirt that said 41, brah. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun at school, and here we are today. Our forecast here in Abbotsford is supposed to be downpouring rain tonight. So it's going to be probably putting a significant damper on those that are coming out to go candy hunting in the neighborhood. We're actually going to keep it pretty low key and not do that this year. Sit and watch some movies and probably go to bed early because it's been a full leadership week. All right, this morning as I'm walking, I listened to Teachers on Fire with my friend Tim Cavey, and he interviews Marcy Samayoa out of California. I think it's from Los Angeles, where she teaches chemistry, and they talk about alternatives to Blooket and Kahoot and her review process and how she engages her students in not using these tools explicitly or specifically for doing review. Actually, in her whole review processes, she doesn't use Kahoot at all. My students really like it, but we use it more as a game as opposed to a tool for learning. I've started to take transcripts from my tutorial videos and create Kahoot questions using Copilot. Takes and gets those information out of the transcripts, so I don't actually have to sit down and type all the questions. I did it a couple times this week and it worked out pretty good. So that was a great process. But the whole point is that pencil and paper is important for engagement, and how she goes and scaffolds her review process to get students test ready, I think is really good. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort. But at the outset, there is explicit instruction where she teaches them the content. They take notes, take thorough notes. Then they have a low-stakes test. They review that test. They work and collaborate in groups to understand where they made their errors, things like that, all the way to the summative test where they have better success than if they had gone through Blooket or Kahoot just to do their review. All right, thank you, Marcy, and thank you, Tim. You have some thoughts about AI in there. I like those ideas as well. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a fabulous weekend. Take a listen to this episode for yourself so you get all the goods. Okay, bye. The last thing for October 31, 2025. Good morning, Lori and Matthew. It's great to listen to the Smile Factor Season 3, Episode 8, as they dropped this episode called Finding Balance in Student Screen Time and helping students understand what that balance looks like. As adults, we're really good at it, right? Really, really good at it. I mean, oh my goodness, I'm looking at a screen right now. I'm just kidding. I'm actually making content right now, but do I sit and doom scroll so easily? Do we do that? I get on Twitter and I just scroll and look at some posts and do some learning, things like that, but, or just take it in. And, it's so easy to get distracted when we put a screen in front of us. So imagine these young ones that have not grown up without a screen. And what is that screen for? It's for consumption. For consumption almost all the time when they're not possibly at school. We want our kids to be creative and to be content creators, and not necessarily for putting it on social, but for making things, using their cognitive skills to create. I'm a big fan of Adobe Express, as you know, and I talk about that in my classroom. But even while I'm teaching it and I have my students working in Adobe Express, I have to get them to Pac-Man their computers so that they can't see their screens while I'm trying to explain a concept that they need to apply to their design. Even then, I've had students that get down really low on their desk and they're peeking inside so they can see the screen. And are they listening to me? No. Is screen a distraction? Yes. We have a no cell phone policy between bell to bell at my school, and right now I'm really liking it. But there is a place for teaching that making wise choices with our technology is important. And school's supposed to be a place to do that. But the whole cell phone thing, if we can get rid of that in classrooms and maybe have that carry over so that when they leave the classroom, leave our space, they think a little bit more about picking up their phones. So yes, this is a great conversation that Lori and Matthew have, and I appreciate it. So take a listen for yourself to the Smile Factor, Episode 8 of Season 3. Thanks, guys. Have a fabulous day. Bye.
I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at Fresh Air at 5. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day, Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself because you are worth it.